Assata Shakur, celebrated by some as a revolutionary, condemned by others as a terrorist, has died in Havana at the age of 78. Cuban officials and her daughter say the cause was complications from long-standing health issues and advanced age. Her passing closes a turbulent chapter that has fueled debate for more than 5 decades over racial justice, policing, and political activism in the United States. Born Joanne Deborah Byron in 1947, Shakur joined the Black Panther Party before moving to the more militant Black Liberation Army. To supporters, she was a freedom fighter, a powerful voice against systemic racism and oppression. To law enforcement agencies, she was a convicted murderer who escaped justice. In 2013, she became the first woman placed on the FBI's Most Wanted Terrorists list, with a reward of up to $2 million for her capture. The pivotal moment in her story came on the New Jersey Turnpike in May 1973. State troopers pulled over the car in which Shakur and 2 fellow BLA members were riding. A gunfight broke out, leaving Trooper Werner Forster and BLA member Zaid Malik Shakur dead. Assata Shakur and a second trooper were wounded. 4 years later, she was convicted of Trooper Forster's murder, along with multiple other felonies, and sentenced to life in prison. Shakur insisted she had been shot with her hands raised and was physically incapable of firing a weapon, maintaining her innocence for the rest of her life. In 1979, her story took a dramatic turn. Armed BLA members posing as visitors broke her out from a maximum security facility in New Jersey, taking guards hostage and fleeing in a prison van. After several years underground, she surfaced in Cuba in 1984, where Fidel Castro granted her political asylum. Washington repeatedly demanded her extradition. Havana consistently refused, framing her as a victim of political persecution. Shakur's exile made her a lasting flashpoint in U.S.-Cuba relations and a symbol that both sides used to advance their narratives. For many in law enforcement and among Forster's colleagues, she remained a violent criminal who died without facing full accountability. New Jersey officials expressed regret that justice, in their view, was never served. Yet for activists, particularly within the Black Lives Matter movement, Shakur became an icon of resistance. Her autobiography and her oft-quoted line, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom, it is our duty to win," continued to inspire campaigns against racial injustice and police brutality. Her cultural reach extended as well. She was the godmother of the late rapper Tupac Shakur. Assata Shakur's death in exile ensures that arguments over her life will persist. Whether remembered as a cop killer or a freedom fighter, her story remains one of the most polarizing legacies of the Black Power era, a reminder of how differently the same events can be seen through the lenses of justice, oppression, and history. A fresh warning from the White House has jolted a once-dismissed legal fight back to life. Lawyers for hundreds of families are urging a federal appeals court to reinstate lawsuits claiming that Tylenol, or more precisely its active ingredient acetaminophen, caused autism or ADHD in children when taken during pregnancy. Here's how we got here. Hundreds of families sued Kenvue, the Johnson & Johnson spin-off that now makes Tylenol, alleging prenatal acetaminophen exposure led to neurodevelopmental disorders. The cases were combined in a federal multi-district litigation. In December 2023, a federal judge threw the cases out, ruling that the plaintiffs' experts hadn't used reliable scientific methods. Without solid expert testimony, the judge said, the claims couldn't proceed. The families took their case to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and then came an unexpected boost. On September 22, 2025, President Donald Trump, standing beside Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., announced that the FDA would warn doctors about a potential link between acetaminophen use in pregnancy and a higher risk of autism and ADHD. Taking Tylenol is not good, the president said, advising pregnant women to limit its use unless medically necessary. Within hours, the plaintiff's lawyers flagged the statement to the appeals court, arguing it lent new credibility to their experts. The court responded by delaying oral arguments from October to November so it could weigh the administration's position. At the center of the debate is whether acetaminophen actually causes autism or whether studies have merely observed an association. Some large observational studies have found that frequent or prolonged use during pregnancy tracks with higher rates of autism or ADHD. The White House cited those studies in its warning. Most medical organizations disagree. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists calls the new warning irresponsible, noting that association is not causation and that untreated pain or fever can itself harm a fetus. The World Health Organization says decades of research show no consistent association between acetaminophen and autism. Vice President J.D. Vance has urged expectant parents to simply follow your doctor. One of the plaintiff's star witnesses illustrates the controversy. Dr. Andrea Baccarelli, dean of Harvard School of Public Health, produced research the White House relied on. Yet the original trial judge dismissed his testimony as unreliable, saying he cherry-picked data and was paid by the plaintiffs. Kenvue, for its part, maintains that independent sound science clearly shows that taking acetaminophen does not cause autism. Still, the company now faces the prospect that the dismissed cases, plus a possible new wave of suits, could be revived. Meanwhile, the FDA has begun exploring a potential label change for acetaminophen products, a move that could influence future litigation. The Second Circuit's upcoming decision will determine whether the families get another day in court or whether the dismissal stands. Whatever the outcome, the White House intervention has already intensified public confusion. Expectant parents now hear two starkly different messages: caution from the president versus reassurance from leading medical groups. For many, the question isn't only legal or scientific, it's deeply personal. In the months ahead, courts, regulators, and researchers will continue to wrestle with the evidence. Until then, the safest course for pregnant individuals may be the one piece of advice both sides can agree on: talk to your healthcare provider. A tragic shooting in Manhattan, a chilling note left behind, and a diagnosis that links a young man's violent end to America's most popular sport. This is the story of 27-year-old Shane Tamura, the gunman who tried to strike the NFL's headquarters, and the confirmation that he suffered from the degenerative brain disease CTE. On July 28, 2025, Tamura walked into the Park Avenue skyscraper that houses the National Football League's main office. Dressed in body armor and carrying an AR-15-style rifle, he opened fire. 4 people were killed: security guard Didarul Islam, real estate executive Wesley Lepatner, management associate Julia Hyman, and security officer Alond Etienne. 1 NFL employee was wounded. Investigators believe Tamura meant to reach the league's executive floors, but took the wrong bank of elevators. He ended the attack by taking his own life. In Tamura's wallet, police found a handwritten 3-page note. He claimed he had a traumatic brain injury and accused the NFL of concealing the dangers to players' brains to maximize profits. His final request? Study my brain, please. I'm sorry. Pathologists did exactly that. The New York City medical examiner later announced unambiguous evidence that Tamura had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, at a low stage. CTE is a degenerative disease caused by repeated hits to the head, not just concussions, but the thousands of lesser blows that accumulate over years of contact sports. It can only be diagnosed after death, and its symptoms, memory loss, confusion, mood swings, aggression, depression, often appear years after the injuries. In advanced stages, it can progress to dementia. Tamura believed football had damaged his brain, and science now says he was right about the disease, if not about his actions. Yet his case stands apart from the high-profile CTE stories we usually hear. He never played a down in the NFL. Like millions of kids, he started tackle football at 6 and played through high school in Los Angeles, where he was a standout running back. After graduating, he worked casino surveillance in Las Vegas. Friends and family say he later battled migraines and depression, and police were called for mental health checks at least once. In 2022, his mother reported he might be suicidal. The tragedy has forced an uncomfortable conversation that runs far beyond one sport. Mental health, gun violence, and the long-term risks of youth athletics have collided in a single horrifying event. The NFL, after years of denying any link between football and brain disease before formally acknowledging it in 2016, issued a statement expressing sorrow for the victims and noting that research into CTE is still evolving. Scientists studying the disease urge caution in drawing a straight line from CTE to mass violence. The Concussion Legacy Foundation said that the presence of a brain disease will never fully explain a person's behavior. Dr. Ann McKee, a leading CTE researcher, points out that the condition can damage areas that govern judgment and impulse control, but more evidence is needed to understand how that might relate to acts like Tamura's. What is clear is that CTE is not limited to the professionals who play on Sundays. A young man who only played football through high school now joins the list of confirmed cases. His diagnosis lends chilling context to the note he left behind, yet it cannot fully account for the decision to pick up a rifle. The shooting leaves us with urgent questions. How do we protect athletes at every level from head trauma? How do we better recognize and treat mental health crises before they become violent? And what responsibility do leagues, schools, and society bear when early childhood sports can carry lifelong risks? There are no easy answers, but Shane Tamura's request, "Study my brain, please," has already deepened the evidence that even short, youthful football careers can leave lasting scars. The challenge now is to turn that knowledge into action before another tragedy forces us to ask the same questions all over again.